where a group called Antifa turned up. Now, they have their origins in America, and they're more than happy to resort to violence. Have a quick look at some of the Antifa protesters from last night. Well, J.D. Vance warned us the other week about freedom of speech. By that he meant censorship. But there's another thing that happened last night that makes me worry about freedom of speech and about the whole democratic process. It was an event that I was doing in Camborne in Cornwall last night.
£52 billion of your money is being quietly handed over by both political parties in what Farage calls the most expensive giveaway in British history.
One member of the public who was there had his tooth knocked out, but no arrests were made. And no attempt was made by Devon and Cornwall police to separate protesters out. So let's be clear, these were masked protesters. Members of the public were expected to walk through them. Of course, what they were looking for was members of the public to react.
This bombshell revelation has Parliament in uproar, but mainstream media remain suspiciously silent. While Labour and Conservatives bicker over minor policy differences, they're united in surrendering British sovereignty over the Chagos Islands. Is this the clearest proof yet that we're governed by a uniparty system that puts foreign interests above British taxpayers? Farage's alternative proposal could save billions and benefit the Chagossians.
And prior to the event, they'd made scores of phone calls to the venue saying, cancel the event or there will be violence on your premises. And I've got to tell you something. I'm a great believer in political protest. You can stand there and shout, maybe chuck the odd egg.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now back to the video. What if I told you that right now, behind closed doors, both major political parties are quietly agreeing to hand over £52 billion of your money? While the media fixates on the latest Westminster gossip, Nigel Farage has exposed what could be one of the most expensive political decisions in recent British history. In a blistering Parliament speech that sent shockwaves through the chamber, Farage laid bare the true cost of surrendering the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. We're talking about a staggering £90 million annually for 99 years, with 3% compound inflation. Do the maths and you'll arrive at a mind-boggling £52 billion price tag for British taxpayers. This isn't loose change found down the back of the Treasury sofa, it's a financial commitment that would dwarf many government departments' entire budgets. What's truly remarkable is how both Labour and Conservative parties, despite their theatrical public disagreements, appear perfectly aligned when it comes to giving away British sovereign territory. It raises serious questions about whose interests they truly serve. Are they representing you, the British voter, or are they dancing to tunes played by international powers? The Conservatives aren't exactly covering themselves in glory here. After plodding through 11 rounds of negotiations, they admitted they were happy to surrender sovereignty, but simply didn't like the final shape of the deal. That's rather like saying you're fine with selling your house for a fraction of its value, but the buyer's choice of carpet is a deal breaker. Their objection wasn't about protecting British interests or territories. It was merely about the fine print. Labour's position is equally baffling. They've been claiming legal uncertainty as justification for their stance, despite the International Court of Justice having no actual jurisdiction over this matter. It's a convenient legal fig leaf that doesn't stand up to scrutiny. When pressed on the details, their arguments collapse faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. What Farage revealed next should send chills down the spine of anyone concerned about national security. China already has a smart city near Port Louis, and India's Prime Minister Modi has shown considerable interest in the region. This isn't simply about a few remote islands, it's about strategic positioning in one of the world's most important maritime regions. The 200-mile marine park surrounding the Chagos archipelago isn't just pretty coral reefs and tropical fish. According to Farage's speech, expert analysis suggests potentially valuable cobalt and mineral resources worth tens or even hundreds of billions lie beneath those waters. Are we really prepared to hand over these resources while simultaneously paying billions for the privilege? When Farage suggested an alternative solution, either maintain sovereignty or sell to America, rather than surrender to what he described as corrupt Mauritius, Parliament erupted in anger. The visceral reaction speaks volumes about the establishment's unwillingness to consider options that might actually benefit British taxpayers. The visible discomfort across both front benches revealed just how deeply this uniparty mentality runs on matters of national sovereignty. Perhaps most shocking is that this surrender is happening despite the wishes of the very people it purportedly aims to help. The majority of Chagossian people oppose this deal. Farage emphasised this point, noting that their voices are being conveniently ignored by politicians who claim to champion self-determination in other contexts. It's a classic case of political hypocrisy that proves Farage's uniparty accusation isn't merely provocative rhetoric. It's an uncomfortable truth. While MPs from both parties lecture the public about fiscal responsibility and budget constraints, they're quietly preparing to sign away £52 billion without meaningful debate or media scrutiny. The same politicians who agonise over funding for schools, hospitals and social care see no issue with this astronomical financial commitment. Why does the mainstream media remain conspicuously silent on this massive financial surrender while obsessing over budget items a fraction of its size? When was the last time you saw a detailed analysis of the Chagos Islands situation on your evening news? The deafening silence from major news outlets only reinforces suspicions that certain topics are deemed too inconvenient for public consumption. In perhaps the most revealing moment of his address, Farage put forward an alternative that left many MPs visibly uncomfortable. Rather than simply handing over the Chagos Islands to what he termed corrupt Mauritius, why not sell them to America? In fact, Farage disclosed he'd already spoken with American cabinet ministers who expressed serious concerns about the deal. These officials even suggested their administration should veto the arrangement entirely. This proposal exposes the larger issue at play. While our political theatre features Labour and Conservatives bickering over minor policy differences, they stand in perfect alignment when surrendering national sovereignty. The theatrical performance of opposition masks their fundamental agreement on issues that genuinely impact Britain's global standing and financial future. The question remains, if our political establishment can quietly align to surrender both sovereignty and billions in taxpayer money on this issue, what other critical national interests are they sacrificing behind closed doors while we're distracted by their manufactured disagreements?